Hi, I'm Melissa Shannon, and today I'm going to be showing you how to use a digital scrapbooking template to create a page in Photoshop Elements. I'm using Photoshop Elements 10, but this process will work in any version of Photoshop Elements. Now, the first thing I'm going to do doesn't involve Photoshop Elements. I'm just going to select the photographs I'll use for this scrapbook page. This page is part of my December daily album that I've been working on. I've got two photographs that I'm keen to use from the 22nd of December. So, I'm going to choose a template that has space for two photographs. Go back into Photoshop Elements and click File, Open. And then I'm going to browse to the directory that my templates are in. Now I have a number of different templates in this folder, 31 actually. So I'm just going to browse down until something catches my eye that has two photo spots. I want to use this template. It's template number 3. So I'm just going to open the equivalent PSD file. When I click on the PSDs, I can see a little thumbnail down here to be sure that it's the right one. You'll notice that most digital scrapbook templates come with previews. That helps you to get a look at what your template looks like before you actually open it. So I'm just going to open the PSD file. That stands for Photoshop document, and it contains all the layers I need to complete my scrapbook page. The first step in the process, once I've selected my template that I want to use, is to go to File and then click on Save As. Then I can type in the name of my layout. I'm just going to go with a date for this one because it's for my December daily album, and that's how I've been naming all of the pages. You may like to include the date and then maybe the name of an event or a theme that you're scrapbooking, so it makes it easier for you to remember what's within the file. I'm going to make sure that Photoshop document or PSD is selected as the format I want. That will keep all of the elements and layers that we need, and it means that if we close down our file, we can come back to it later. Click Save to save your layout. Now that we've saved our file, it means the original template file can be used again later if we want to. The next step is to put my photographs in. So using my Move tool, which is the tool in the top left corner of your toolbox, I will click on my first photo spot. I'm going to go up to File and then Place. I always use File, Place to put my photographs in my scrapbook pages because this allows me to guarantee that I'll get a smart object. If you have Photoshop Elements 7 or above, you have this capability. It works slightly differently in each version, but File, Place makes sure you easily get a smart object. I'm going to click on this photograph here and then click Place. I'm going to resize it at this point by dragging one of the corner boxes to get it about the right size, and I'm happy with. Okay, I'm going to press the green tick or enter to apply those changes. You'll see over here in my layers panel there's my thumbnail for the image, and there's also a little icon that indicates that it's a smart object. A smart object is an object that has a full resolution image. That means that I can resize this photograph as many times as I want without losing any quality. So the printouts will always look just perfect. The next thing I'm going to do is press Ctrl G, which is my scrapper's best friend for clipping this photograph to the shape. You'll remember I clicked on the shape that I wanted to clip my photograph to before I inserted my picture. So if I press Ctrl G again to unclip it, I'll show you another way to clip your image, which is you hover over this line here between the two layers and you hold down your Alt key until this double circle appears. Then you click on the line. I find it a little tricky to get it accurate every time, so that's why I prefer the Create Clipping Mask shortcut, which is Ctrl G. You can also do the same process by going to Layer and then Create Clipping Mask. your photograph needs to be on top of the layer that you want it to clip to. Now you can see that this photograph doesn't quite suit the vertical shape, but we'll fix that. So what I'm going to do is just alter the size of this photo spot. I'm going to click on the photo spot, and then where the little box is, I'm just going to resize it. So then I'll click green tick. And now you can see I've made this photo spot the same length as the other one there. Now with my clipped image, I can click on it and move it around at any point. I can also resize it by dragging a corner if I decide I want more of the shot. When you're resizing your image, be sure that the Constrain Proportions checkbox is ticked on the options bar. If it's not ticked, you'll end up with a stretched or odd looking photograph. So whenever you're clicking and dragging, just check that Constrain Proportions is ticked. So after a bit of moving and fiddling, I think I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm going to click the green tick. Now I'm going to move on to my second photograph. I'll click with the Move tool on the square, and then again, File, Place, and select the photograph I want to include. I'm just going to press Ctrl G to clip the photograph to the shape. And then I'll just grab my little resizing handles and resize this photograph until I'm really happy with how it looks. When I'm happy with how everything's looking, I'll click the green tick mark. And again, because I have a smart object for this photograph as well, I can come back at a later time and resize as needed. If you have a template with more photo spots than you need, you can always place a piece of paper in that spot instead. But for me, I've got 2 spots and 2 photographs, so I'm happy with that. The next thing I'm going to do is work on placing my papers. I'm selecting my kit based on the album that it's going to go in. I'm using 2 kits throughout my December Daily album: Happy Holidays by Karen Lewis Designs at thedigichick.com and Peace on Earth by Eva Kipler and Flurgs from scrapbookgraphics.com. You may like to select which digital supplies you're using based on the style, the theme, the colour, or just because you want to use that kit. There's no real rule. So the first paper I'm going to insert is the background paper. So I'll go File, Place, then I'm going to browse to the kit that I want to use, and then I click Place once I've chosen my paper. Make sure my Move tool is selected, and I click on the next shape that I want to cover with paper. Go to File, Place, and choose my paper. So now I've chosen my next paper. I'll press Ctrl G to clip that into place. Now I click on the next shape and repeat the process. And again, after placing, I just press Ctrl G to clip the paper to the shape below. Now I can add my journaling. I like to do it at this stage before I get too involved in the embellishing, so that I always have space. Now that I've resized that photo, I think I'll resize my journaling to fit across. All I need to do is double click with my Move tool, drag the little handle on the left to resize my journaling box. When I'm happy, I'll press the tick. Now I'll just add some journaling. I'll click within the text box and start typing away. Okay, now I've finished typing my journaling, and at this point you could choose to select all of the text in your text box and then change the font, style or colour as I described in the last tutorial on text. I'm happy with how my journaling looks, so I'm just going to click on the green tick. At this point, I'm going to reselect my Move tool and press Ctrl 0 to zoom out to see my whole layout. I like the look of the layout so far, but I think it needs a title, and I'm probably going to replace that blue star with an ornament to blend in with the background paper I've chosen. So the first thing I'm going to tackle is to create my own title using a font. I'm just going to select my text tool and click where I want to start my title. Now I've typed my title and chosen a different font, I'm just going to select a colour from the background as the text colour for my title. Now I can select my Move tool and move it to where I want it to be. Also going to add the date to this little embellishment. Now I'm going to change my embellishment to match the background. Click on the File menu, then Place, and browse to find your embellishment. Now, after playing around with a few different options for embellishments, I've chosen this little ornament. Now I'm going to just turn off the extra layers I don't need, which is the star and the bow. Turn them off by clicking on the eye icon next to the thumbnail. Now, to make sure they're aligned perfectly, I'm just going to click on the 22 and then hold down Shift and click on the ornament. Go up to Align, Horizontal Centers. Then I'm going to lock them both together by clicking on the link layers. That means now I can move my ornament without the two splitting apart. And then I'm just going to add a little staple to hold it in place. I think I'll just resize that a bit and move my staple until I'm happy with it. Now I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. I'm just going to add a shadow to my embellishment here. I'm going to copy the same shadow I've used other places in my layout. It came with a template. So I'm just going to right mouse button click on this shape. It has a little icon that says FX. That means that it has a layer style attached. So if I right mouse button click on the name, I can go to copy layer style, then I can click over onto my ornament and click right mouse button click and do paste layer style, and I'll repeat that for my staple as well. So now you can see I've got my original template all filled out with photos, papers and embellishments, and you've even learnt a bonus tip on how to resize your photo spots to work with different photographs. Would you like to see more Photoshop Elements video tutorials? Visit digitalscrapbookinghq.com for more tips, tutorials and free online workshops.